you know, every single one of you listening to this right now, you are amazing, you are special, you are unique, you are wonderful, you are lovable, you are desirable.
Are you love
You-
bombing them right now? Is that
I'm
what's
love
happening?
bombing them right now.
Hey, welcome to the Dating Detox Show, where we attempt our best to help you get healthy, date healthy, and build healthy relationships. I am Eric Wooten, and with me, as always, Megan Toma, the master coach and the person who helps people end the cycle of toxic dating and relationships. How are you doing?
I'm so good. I'm so good. Yeah, happy to be here.
Good. I'm
Yeah,
super excited for this one because I'm like, this is
me
your
too.
realm, and so this is gonna feel more like me interviewing you. But
Mm.
I'm excited. So what we're gonna talk about today is how to respond to love bombers, ghosters, and game players. So all the what do you do with all the foolishness, right? You hear so many people who are frustrated with a lot of the dumb stuff that's happening. But at some point, I'm sure you've noticed too, they get frustrated and their response is usually like, I'm done. I'm done with
Mhm.
dating. That, you hear all the dumb comments. There's too much pee in the dating pool, and it's crazy on these streets. But you have lots of thoughts on, you don't need to quit. There's some stuff you can do to manage, set boundaries, or deal with the people who are trying to do foolish stuff. The answer does not have to be quit, right?
Yeah, totally. I often teach you get to surrender a lot of things, but you don't have to resign. You don't ever have to just resign and quit because that's not going to get you any closer to what you say you want. So, yeah. But then, as you said, I love when you use that word. There's a lot of foolishness out there. There's a lot of stuff. There is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a
And
lot of it is being taught,
yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
some people are doing foolish stuff thinking that's the right things to be doing to get what they ultimately want, and then they wonder why it keeps attracting the wrong thing. So
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. There's a
it
different
is
way, though.
hard.
There's a better way. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is hard.
All right.
It
So
is hard.
I'm going to throw out some of the terms and you can kind of define them. So in case people don't know what they are, and then let's talk a little bit about what do you do when that's happening, or how do you recognize it? So the first one, just love bombing.
Love.
What is love bombing?
Okay, so I'm actually going to give the dictionary definition because we were laughing earlier that it actually made the dictionary. There is a
Of course
definition
it
for love
did.
bombing.
Of
Okay,
course it
so
did.
the definition states love bombing is the action or practice of lavishing someone with attention or affection, especially in order to influence or manipulate them. Okay, so I think that we talked about on another episode, a lot of good feel hormones and chemicals are getting released when we are in early stages of dating. There's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of fantasy, there's a lot of we're feeling really good on the early stages. So I think that some love bombing happens without the intention to hurt people. It just kind of comes out of us. And then there are people that are love bombing us or people to manipulate them, to kind of have the upper hand, to control, to coerce. Whether they're fully aware of it or not doesn't matter. It still happens. Okay. So, for any of us that have been on the receiving end of love bombing, you know how good it feels, how intoxicating it is, and how it really can impair your judgment because it sure as heck impaired mine. I was like, I'm good. I don't care. I don't care what happens. I'm fine. Just I want to feel this way forever and always. And love bombing, it's fleeting. It's not because it's not based in reality. And even though, every single one of you listening to this right now, you are amazing. You are special. You are unique. You are wonderful. You are lovable. You are desirable.
Are you love
You,
bombing them right now? Is
I'm
that what's
love
happening?
bombing them right now. I'm just giving you a real life example. No, but it's like you are special and you get to feel special, and someone telling you, that, I know it's you, or I've never met anyone like you, or you're the only one, you know what it's like. Most of us know what it's like to be at the receiving end of love bombing. You just feel like you're kind of at the center of their world. And it's just not based in reality. So what I typically teach with this, for those of us that have experienced it and then been burned by it, if you start to feel like someone is love bombing you potentially. Like your little antennas are going off. There's a little warning sign of your very wise internal guiding system that says, hold on. This feels familiar. This almost feels too good to be true. I've been there. Oh, I've been there. Like it just feels too good to be true. And we know the saying, it probably is.
But isn't this the difficulty of self-deception, where you kind of feel that, but at the same time, if you value yourself on any level, there's also a piece of you that's like, this is what I deserve. Like,
yeah.
I
Oh,
deserve
exactly.
somebody who, so then
Right.
that kind of probably makes you wrestle a bit.
For me, it did. And I am the odd, one in this situation, that I grew up with parents that were very loving, very attentive. Yes, they had their things, I have my stuff because of their things, but they're still together. I was taught growing up, I am amazing. I am lovable. I am worthy. I am whole, all these things. So if someone else reflects that back to me, I'm like, oh yeah, good. I feel seen.
Yeah.
But in reality, I always have to come back to what I teach other women when they get really excited about someone, that you don't know him yet. They don't know me yet. How am I, they're falling
Mm.
at my feet, but they don't really know me yet. They haven't seen all my sides. They've seen, my mask or what I present early on, but it's not the totality and full truth of who I am. So, do you want me to share
That's
how
good.
I, yeah.
In fact, that's so good. Watch this. No,
Yes,
because I
yes.
think we don't do that. I don't know if we say to ourselves, this person doesn't even fully know me, and they're just falling over themselves, that we're just not logical to stop
Yeah.
and have that bit of clarity and go, yeah, this person's super excited, but they really don't know me. So
Right.
let's temper this a little bit.
And another way you can look at that too is, okay, if they're all about me this early on, well, who am I to think that they're not doing that with everybody they come in contact with people they don't fully know yet? So again,
Yeah,
so
but
how do
you're
I
so
feel special?
amazing.
Right.
There's no
Yeah.
way they're doing it with anybody else. It's
Yeah.
because you're the one. Because, right, if they say, I've never felt this for anybody else, you're the only person, you tend to believe them.
Yeah. 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 Until you've experienced enough times and get burned by it that you start to say, huh, again, this feels familiar, or this feels too good to be true, or this feels like too much, too fast, too soon. So I'm going to do like a metaphorical pause here and slow it down. And there's lots of ways that you can communicate that with somebody. I am, I typically come from the full truth is best. So I have even said in my past, because of what I've also experienced from prior former love bombers, I have even said to people in more recent years that I was dating, hey, everything that you're saying right now feels amazing. Like that makes me feel so good. And unfortunately, I have experienced some aspects of people coming on too strong, or you could say I've experienced love bombing. I typically say I've had experience of people coming on really strong in the beginning. And even though it feels so good and makes me feel special, I really want you to get to know me more. And I want to get to know you more. So can we just take a bit of a pause here, like slow things down a little bit, take our foot off the full blown gas here and just cruise a little bit and get to know each other more. And if they
Snap.
are of a healthy mindset, that has been so well received. Like they actually respect that. 'Cause I think some people will also love bomb because they're trying to impress, they're trying to woo, they're trying to,
Yeah.
you know, be the one that's so, important and special to the person they're trying to attract in. But in reality, when we really call it out for what it is, again, if the person is in a healthy place with no malicious intent, they typically respect it.
No,
And
that's
if the
good.
response is opposite, then you kind of know what you're working with. You have more information.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Right. If they start, then that'll be a whole nother show, right? Toxic traits and stuff. But they
Oh,
start
yeah.
coming back with, blaming you back and playing a victim, and you don't appreciate what I do for you, all this kind of stuff. Then you're like, oh, okay,
Ding,
that's a
ding,
good
ding.
indicator.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it would be things, just to be practical, it would be things like over communicating their feelings with you too early, or unnecessary gifts and attention
Yes.
that's over the top.
Yes.
Certainly people that are talking too early intensely about the future, like, oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
god, when be like, oh bro, I
Yeah.
barely, like, I don't know you like that. And where
Right.
you got a
When we
shirt
get
made
married. Yeah.
with the two of us on there with the same last name. What are we doing
Right.
here?
You tattooed my name on you. No one's ever done that, but
The
that would
crazy
be a
thing
good
is,
time.
I remember reading once about just about love bombing, and the article I was reading was talking about how this is what made me go, those are two different things. One was saying that people with an anxious attachment style can tend to do this, but then they also
Yeah.
said people with narcissistic personality disorder tend to do this. And I'm like, well, those are vastly different people. One is
Very
feeling
different.
insecure about the relationship. The other is
Yeah.
a person you want to run from as fast as you can. Like
Yes,
that
exactly.
can make evaluating it a little bit tough. It was like,
Mhm.
well, hold on, is this person narcissistic, or are they just anxious and they've watched videos online and their friends have told them they've come to believe they got to go over the top to actually win somebody? Those are completely different motivations.
Totally, totally. But the fact that those are the kind of the two options on the table is just another indicator to slow down so you can properly evaluate. Just think like when you're speeding in a car, you can't like make the right turns or follow directions properly. Like that, there's more chance of an accident happening. So we want to slow it down, as it is in service to you and the incredible relationship you're trying to build, maybe even with this person. So, yeah,
Yeah. Good. Okay,
good one on
that's
the
love
data love
bombing.
bombing. Yep.
Let's love bombing. Let's talk about the opposite, ghosting. What's
Ghosting. Yeah.
ghosting, and what do you what do you do? Should you do?
Yeah.
This is a whole different world, right? It
Yeah.
was kind of hard to ghost before texting and online apps and some of that other
Yeah.
stuff. It's like you tried to avoid Susie in middle school and not talk to her. That
Right.
was a little
Yeah.
tougher, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay.
ghosting, what's
So
ghosting,
ghosting
and what?
nowadays. Yeah. So ghosting, I think there's different levels of ghosting. Just like I guess really there's different levels of game playing and love bombing too. But ghosting is when you're talking with someone or you're even in a relationship with someone and the communication just completely and utterly drops off, like they just go dark. So um so you know people have a lot of different opinions on ghosting, and what you should do if you've been ghosted. So I think, the kind of ghosting, let's say you're on a dating app and you've been talking to, I'm going to just say this guy for a while, and he just stops talking to you. But there hasn't been a lot of intimacy shared. There hasn't been a lot of connection or closeness built. And you're just like, okay, whatever. I've heard people, refer to it as kind of like the slow fade. You just kind of like stop talking. Or even you go
Sure.
on a date with somebody and you're not feeling it. You don't feel like they really feel it. I still think it's so beautiful and respectful to send a like, hey, I'm not feeling this connection, but I wish you all the best. But is that the end of the world ghosting if both parties decide to not talk to each other? No. And I don't even really consider that ghosting. Ghosting
Okay.
is more along the lines of we have some form of connection here that we're building, or we have a date planned. There's something on the calendar we're planning to do, or we're going to talk tomorrow night about something important or whatever the case. And then the person just falls off and there's no communication. And let's say you reach out or you're confused or you're trying to figure out what's going on and there's still no response. Like, yep, you done been ghosted. So, and I was, telling you this earlier, I was on a very popular Instagram account for a dating coach, and I read something that he wrote, which said, if you've been ghosted, do not say anything. Don't say a word. And I completely disagree with that.
So
So,
that would be my approach. I'd be like,
yeah.
well, forget you. If you're just
Mhm.
gonna wake up one day and decide I'm not worth your time or even a response. Part of me here would be my mentality. The fact that you didn't even think, and again, we're talking about there's some kind of relationship, not early on.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
fact that you didn't value me enough to even want to politely let me know it's over. In my mind, I'm like, you're not the kind of person that deserves any of my energy, time, nor I want to be in contact with you. So
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear your perspective, because I would
Yeah.
line up with whoever that dating coach was, and I'd be like, yeah, bye.
Yeah.
See ya.
And I will say that I do agree with you. Of course, like that is the message well received. Like, okay, clearly this person is not who I thought they were, or to the caliber of kind of human I want to, share space with. So, okay, like that's a no for me. Absolutely. And when we sit in the seat of, you know, forget it. I'm just not going to say anything. It perpetuates the behavior. It's like the culture of ghosting just gets to feed and breathe off people not being held accountable. So I actually have a whole free text and things you could say to somebody if you have been ghosted. And I will say I'm quite proud of it, because the come from, the intention behind saying something to someone who's ghosted you, it's not about making them wrong. It's not about let me tell you, let me teach you how effed up this is. That's not the intention behind it. I really want to teach people, women especially that I've worked with that have had this horrific experience, to really stand in their power and to come from a place of self-empowerment and speak their truth to someone who they have shared space with, who they've been close to or gone on several dates with, or have been dating for 3 months. I had that happen to a client of mine. So there is a way to approach ghosters where they get to be held accountable and you still get to stand in your dignity. There is a way to
Gotcha.
have both things. Yeah.
So is the from your perspective, is the motivation for you is for the person to feel like they were able to kind of stand up and say, hey, this is not right?
Yes.
Or is the motivation like, I'm going to show them and change them? And
No,
yeah,
no,
okay.
because you can't ever change somebody. You
No,
just can't.
no. But I think some
But
people think they can. Like some people are like, well, I'm just going to give it to them one more time, and
right,
they'll come to the conclusion that they were off.
right. And then
That's not the motivation behind it.
no, and that can't be your come from either, because then again, that's a manipulation. Let me say the thing that gets them to come back and see the error of their way so that I can get someone back who didn't even have the dignity and courtesy to tell me they were no longer interested. No, you don't want that fool anyway. But but you can still hold someone accountable and stand up for yourself so that this person knows, and they get to be held accountable, right? So it's not just like, well, they're just going to keep doing that. If nobody says anything and everyone's like, huh, okay, fine, whatever, I'm better off without them. But again, that's sort of stepping into this like fake cool girl mentality, like, huh, I don't care. And you may well know that person is not a good match for you because of the disrespect that they showed. But you can still stand up and speak your truth and stand in your power, and also say, like, yeah, this really hurt. And this is clearly over, but this also really hurt. So
No, that's good.
yeah,
And so you have like a free number of different texts, how
yep,
to respond to people in some of these different situations where you
I
kind of line
do.
out. That's awesome. All right. So
Yeah,
we'll put in the description area, show notes, we'll put a link to your Instagram and
yeah,
that thing so those people can grab that. Cause yeah, there's some people that are like, that's good, but I have no
yeah.
clue, no
How
clue
to do it.
how I should be
Yeah,
saying that. So
it's
no,
really
that's good.
good.
Okay.
It's really good.
That's good. I can even though even though I'm in camp, don't respond. I can value what you're saying. I think that does it does empower somebody to feel, because there's nothing more disempowering or reject. That's why when people talk about like I need closure, kind of
Yeah,
thing. I'm like, I don't know if you ever get whatever closure is, but it does suck when you feel like you have no voice, right? When
yes,
there's no ability to just let another person know how they impacted you.
yes,
So
yes,
I think that's good to be able to at least feel like, okay, whether they receive it, whether they respond, whether they care, I still need to let them know that
yeah.
this is how I was impacted. in them doing it. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
that's good. All right, let's talk about. I want to hear your thoughts on some of the other game playing, because when I look online at a lot of dating coaches and dating
Mhm.
information, and so much of it feels like this weird game playing to me, that I think when people do, one, it's dumb, because
Mhm.
if you're playing games as you walk into marriage, you're setting yourself up for an exhausting relationship where you got to continue doing whatever the manipulation you've been doing
For
to
the
get there
rest
for
of
the
your
rest of your life.
lives.
I'm
Yeah.
like, pass on that.
Yeah.
Two, I think it often attracts the opposite of what you really want,
Yep. Yeah.
i.e. the people, play hard to get, right? There's been, I've read some research articles on just the lure of that stuff, right? That playing hard to get does make you, looking not as available, does make you look a little more attractive, um, to people who don't know you, but to people who do know you, now it becomes a toxic trait, right? So it's like the same quality at this moment with this person doesn't, and most of the people that are attracted to a lack of availability are avoidant personality types. And if that's not who you are, then that may work to get them interested. But then as soon as you be who you really are, which is either secure or anxious, they're going to be like,
Yeah.
hey, oh,
Peace out.
that's a lot.
Right.
Bye. You know?
Right.
So give me
Yeah.
your thoughts on some of the, you got the 3-day rule, right? Go out on a
Yeah.
date and then don't call them back. What do you think about that?
I think it's so silly and so outdated and unnecessary. If you had a good time, like, oh my gosh, I would think most of the women, especially listening to this, would be nodding right now. Like, how good does it feel at the end of, let's say, date one with a man, for him to like make a plan to see you again, for you to know he's interested again? That feels so good. I hate the waiting. I hate the 3-day rule. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, we
You don't
want
want
to
to go home
know.
and wonder,
No,
wonder what they thought.
no.
Like, did I suck? What did they enjoy me?
Yeah. I mean, nothing to me is more attractive than honesty and someone in integrity and being transparent. Like, hey, I had a really good time with you and I'd love to see you again. Oh, like that. And I don't know if maybe that shifted over the years for me, because I think I did used to be more intrigued and sort of like intoxicated with not knowing where I stood, and the whole reason of my history and upbringing and stuff that's attached to that, because all of our stuff comes from childhood. But at the end of the day, and now being in a much, much healthier space, always learning and growing, but being in a healthier space, like, I want nothing more than to know where I stand with somebody. I want to know, like, I want someone's consistency. I want someone's openness. I want someone's truth. It's just so much more attractive to me. So the 3-day rule, throw that one out. Throw that one out. Throw out the 90-day rule. I mean, we did that whole other podcast about sex before marriage commitment. Um, the time doesn't matter, as like putting a 90-day rule to have sex with somebody. None of that matters if there's no commitment and emotional connection made between two people. It doesn't matter if you wait 90 days. It doesn't matter if you wait 9 months. It doesn't matter if you wait 9 years. If there is not a true emotional connection and commitment between two people, I don't believe in having sex before that. So
What about the 5th date rule, which is basically you need to decide within 5 dates, is this a keeper? You either move forward or you dump them.
okay,
Quit wasting
so
time.
you're supposed to know after 5 whole days.
Yeah,
5 whole
absolutely.
dates with someone. It's ridiculous.
Hey, listen, everybody always tells me when you know, you know. And
Yeah,
so I should
right.
just, I'll just know when they're the one.
I can't tell you how many times I knew, and it almost got me, it almost got me a husband. I was engaged, and I'm so glad that God intervened and I got to call that off. But no, but I will say a little flip side to this, is a little nuanced piece. I don't believe you're supposed to know after 5 dates. There's no way in heck. And for the people that go on a date with somebody and they're like, I'm just not feeling it, especially people that have been in these more love bombing, intoxicating early on relationships, I talk about it. It's like you've been riding the roller coaster for most of your life, and now we're going to go on the gondola ride. And you're like, this is boring. One date, now I'm not interested. I didn't feel the butterflies. I didn't feel the lightning that I, used to feeling. And my perspective on that is actually give someone 3 days. Go out at least 3 times. I can't tell you how many times I've been on, especially as I was healing this pattern of toxic relationships. Date 1, I'm like, boring, not really into it, but I kept to, I'm going to give it 3 solid dates for someone that I'm just going to like, but if it's an absolute no, trust yourself. Like, you don't have to go on 3 dates.
If they're toxic and unhealthy,
right.
Don't give them 3. Yeah.
No. But if it's just someone where you're like, I don't know, he seems okay, he's nice, seems to be like he seems to have these good qualities, but I don't know, I'm not that attracted, or whatever the reason is. Give this person 3-date opportunity, generally speaking, to just get a better feel for them. I've been on a first date and been like, meh, gone on date 2 and ended up getting into a relationship with that person for many months. Great relationship. We're still friends today. Just wasn't aligned on other things. But if I had just gone off that first date, I would have never had that experience. So I think it's about actually, so it's, exactly what we're talking about. You can't know after 5 dates, and you certainly don't, or you're not required to know after 1 date. I know so many people that are now with their husbands and are very happily married, and they were like, I wasn't sure about him in the beginning. My own mother, my precious dad, told her he loved her after a couple months, and she said thank you, because she was like,
that's awesome.
This is years.
Yeah.
So it's not this, it's just not always when you know. Okay. Well, someone may know before you do. You may, when might be, a year in. Like, that's okay. It's not supposed to happen on date 1.
Yeah.
So,
and
or date 5.
like you said, if a person is not in a healthy space, they're not going to evaluate correctly anyway. Like you were saying, some of these unhealthy relationships were creating the butterflies. Again, not knowing if you have an anxious attachment style is going to create over obsessing. I can't stop thinking about them. I'm always wondering. It's doing stuff inside of me, and we can mistake that for, this is like chemistry or passionate love. I can't stop thinking about them. I can't. And it's like, no, that's because you're anxious, because they're not healthy and you're not healthy, right? So I think sometimes we may not, when you get healthy. Now I'm not saying somebody that's boring is an indication of a great relationship. But when you're healthy and somebody else is healthy, and there's some peace there, for some people who are used to the anxiety and the game playing, and that can feel real boring, and they'd be like, nah, I don't like them. I'm like, no, that's healthy. So maybe again, don't settle for somebody who's boring just because you're like, oh, Eric said that was healthy. No,
Right.
you still gotta like them, but
this is the part that everybody hates, and there's no sugarcoating it. There's no getting around it, and there's no fast track to it. Especially if you have had the experience of unhealthy or toxic relationships, there is this period of time where you are going to go on some boring dates, because you're kind of resetting your baseline a bit. Your baseline has been set to these extreme highs followed by extreme lows, which is categorically unhealthy. But as we start to kind of reset our nervous system, reset our baseline to what is healthy, then it's going to not be the roller coaster ride. There are going to be, and it's a way that you start to trust yourself again, because then you start to learn, okay, am I just not attracted to this person because they're healthy, or am I not attracted because they're boring? And no one can teach you that. That's something that you get to learn and discover about yourself through the process of healthier dating strategies. So it's not fun, it's not glamorous, but it is the work, and it is doable. And the quicker you start doing it, the faster you are able to kind of discern who is healthy for you that you're also attracted to, and who is maybe healthy but you're not attracted to them, or it's not a good fit. But It's a self-discovery process.
No, I think that's good. So, if you need some guidance on how to respond to some of this different stuff that's not healthy, go check out Megan's Instagram and you'll see the link there. And we'll put it in the show notes in the description area below as well. So you can grab that free guide that will help you know how to respond. And if you've not already downloaded the Modern Dater's Playbook, you can check that out at datingdetoxshow.com. And I think that's about all we got for this ghosting, love bombing, game playing foolishness. Until next time, we'll see you right back here.